Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Peach Radio Show. I am your host, Peach, and I have a couple guests on here with me tonight. Share this live, share the love. Tonight's discussion is going to be about pederasty or pederasty, however you want to pronounce it. However grand or least grand. So we're going to get into it tonight. I ask that everyone have an open mind. If you're religious, have an open mind. If you are spiritual, have an open mind. Because we're going to take this journey, and I need you to go all the way back with me. And when I say back, I need you to go with me back to the beginning of time. Now, since we all love our religious texts, I don't want you to think I'm attacking it. I don't want you to think I'm attacking your spirituality. Okay? So if you could just take a moment and share the live, everybody, my guest that's going to be on the show, share the live. It's going to be a great topic. And then after we have discussed the topic, then I'm going to have a special guest on. While I'm discussing the topic, I'm going to also have a couple people from IME Inc. on. So it's going to be a great night. So share the live, share it to as many groups as you can. All right, and I'm going to take a moment to give y'all a chance to come on in. It's going to be a great night. All right, I see it's still dropping down. All righty. So I'm going to share it to some groups, and I would love for you guys to share it to some groups. Now, hey, Raphael. Share the love, share the love. I'm sharing it with everybody. So we have a new format here. You'll be able to see the comments appear at the bottom of the screen so you can read what everyone is saying. If you would like to be a guest on this show with me, click the link above. I'll let you into the virtual studio. Make sure your audio is clear, and we'll have this conversation. Also, feel free to call in. The number streaming below is 302 312 3534. Hello, how are you? All right. So, before we begin this topic and take this journey, I need for you guys to relax. And it's a couple things I'm going to ask you to release. Because we're going way back. We're going back way before Christ, okay? So hang in there with me if you're not really into history. Please hang in there with me because this is beneficial information. First off, what I want you to do is close your eyes. I want you to think back to a space where there was mountains and fresh trees and fresh water, zero cell phone, zero internet. I want you to forget about your race because before Christ, we didn't have selected race. It was about regions and where your people were from, right? Now, I want imagine in your community, there are people there, all shapes, sizes, colors, mixed breed people. You can put yourself wherever. If you want to put yourself in ancient Egypt, if you want to put yourself in ancient Greece, if you want to put yourself Rome, Wherever you want to place yourself, just put yourself back there in the beginning of the time. There's no concept of race, only nationality. Okay. And also, there is no concept of homosexuality. There is not a word for it. Okay. Everybody lived, and your main concern at the moment was how were you going to sleep and how were you going to eat. You were in survival mode. So maybe in your country, you got a king or queen that you follow. So just keep in mind that's the mind state that you got right now. And all your resources dried up in your community. So what most people did during that time when your resources dried up, you had to go to another community and find the resources that you needed. Most of the times you probably went to war with these people, right? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lost. But I guarantee within your tribe of people, remember, white, black, mixed people all together, and some people that stayed within the tribe that won, and there's some people that went back, right? So in human nature, you look around and say, okay, we done lost all these men in war, and we done lost some because they went with the enemy. But 9 times out of the 10, the women within the community stayed within their nationality and stayed within the people that they knew. So common sense, now this is hypothetically, one of the leaders said, well, if I'm losing soldiers from death or I'm losing them because they're going with the enemy, what is it that makes these women stay? What is the bond? What is the glue that's holding them within this community? And I'm a believer in common sense. So I would like to think that these men concocted a theory to build nationalism, closeness, and kinship. Now, I don't particularly agree with what they decided to do, but I think that's how, during the 10th and 7th century BC, pederasty or pederasty was born. Now, before I begin, does anybody have a clue what pederasty is? Do you know what it means? Because before we can actually tackle the actual subject, and let me change because I didn't change it here, we have to have a firm and clear understanding what it is. So let me go here. Did pederasty, which is our topic, spark the homophobic movement? All right. So I'm changing it now. All righty. Boom. So we got it here. All right. So back to what I was saying. Somebody saying no. Let me go inside these groups. Okay. So now Nakia said men and boys sexually. Yes. Somebody said what does it mean? Okay. So I'm gonna get into Nakia is actually right. Men and boys sexually. So I'm gonna tell you what pederasty is. So what is pederasty? Pederasty is an ancient institutionalized rites of passage custom where influential men slept with underage boys. Now, when I say institutionalized, I mean it was within the systems like the Senate, like to become priests. Whatever the hierarchy was in that society, they practiced pederasty. Now, I hate to be funny, but we see a form of pederasty modern today. Thank you, Nakia. When you look at the Roman Catholic Church, you ever wonder why they find out that these priests are doing so much to these boys and they're hiding it? Well, I think they still believe in some form of pederasty. Now, back in ancient times, where, now you would go fill out a job application and just go work. And there are times women didn't really have any real responsibilities, but it was the responsibilities of the men. And your job application was to either work the fields as a hen or a farmer, or influential man saw you as a child and decided to take you under their wing and train you, whatever practice they had. In exchange, the young boy would sleep with the elder or the influential person. And I know this got to sound very, very, very familiar. And it should give you some insight into the thoughts of the elite today when you hear about these celebrities sleeping with these young children and all of these things. These are ancient practices. Now, do I agree with pederasty? No, I do not agree with it. I don't want you to think that. But I just want you to take this journey with me because I want you to understand how we got from pederasty, homosexuality, and how it got into the Bible. So what's the purpose of pederasty? The purpose was to educate about a particular profession, provide guidance into manhood or adulthood, and to foster loyalty and bonding. I'm sorry. Now, don't get it twisted for my black brothers and sisters. Remember, in the beginning, I said, take this journey with me. The most the cultures that you guys believe practice pederasty, like Greece and Rome, you believe, oh, that is a white person thing. No, Greece and Rome was multiracial. And back then, race did not exist. So in communities, we lived all together, and you did not look at a person as a white person, a black person, a mulatto person. You looked at them as a person of your nationality. So black people, you did practice pederasty. And alongside pederasty during that time, there were homosexuals. Okay? So I need you to understand that. Remember, in the beginning, I said, go back to the ancient times with me. Strip yourself of race. Strip yourself of any of these different things that we got now. Strip it down to simplicity. Even strip it down to not having a religion, because pederasty was created before religion. Someone's saying, I feel like the Catholic priests do it because they're in a position of power. There's little to no consequence. They are just moved to another church to continue. Even if kids who were assaulted speak up years later, the priests aren't punished. I have to go and see who's saying that. But I need you to look up the Catholic priests and the rules that's governing them. Because I believe that they're a sovereign nation. Okay? All right, so let's go back into this. Pederasty. Built-in institutionalized pedophilia. Who practiced it? The Greeks, the Romans, Egyptians, the Japanese, the Chinese. All of these people practice this. And just don't take my word for it. I want you to go ahead and research it, right? It's a word called shido or shudo. That's the Japanese version of pederasty. In order for you to be a samurai, you had to be mentored by an older samurai, and a part of the process was pederasty. So let's think back into history and when you was in school, when you was listening to about the famous Julius Caesar, Nero, all of these men, Alexander the Great, even the guy from Troy. What was his name? The star of the movie that Brad Pitt played, and the young boy was supposed to be his nephew. That was not his nephew in classical literature. That was his lover. Okay? Pederasty was also practiced in Sparta. In order for you to be a Spartan soldier, they believed that sleeping with one another built kinship, bonding, and you will fight harder. So for my black men that love the movie 300, that's the piece that they left out. Yes, Caligula and Caesar. Thank you, Raphael. And you know Caligula, maybe that was wrong with him. Maybe he practiced too much pederasty on this poor boy because he was crazy. Okay, so let me read some of these comments. As far as teenagers are concerned, that's a new modern idea. There were kids and once productive, there were considered adults. So pedophilia wasn't much of a concept reference to what we consider teens. Did you read it? Okay, and Courtney said, I did read about that. Okay, so anybody got any questions about pederasty? And mind you, during this time, before Christ, there was no age of consent. It was none of that kind of stuff. And again, for those that's watching, that's looking for something negative in my message, I do not condone pedophilia. And for those just joining, the topic for tonight, it did pederasty spark homophobia? Current today. Now, I'm going to read y'all a couple facts. Pederasty started between the 10th and 7th century BC. Now, if you don't know how to read the calendar, it starts highest to lowest, and then when you get to AD, it goes lowest to highest. Okay? So pederasty started in the 10th and the 7th century. It was a practice that was practiced by nobles. It was the concept of entering into manhood through having sexual relations with an influential partner. Okay? So, your Bible, the first scripts came out in 1 BC. Your God, if you're a Christian, was born in 1 AD. So this is when we started developing different concepts. And we started trying to structure our community because we didn't like how it was running. So let's get these manuscripts, let's compile them, and let's start putting together some commandments, some rules, and get some order in this community because we got pederasty going on. We got, now just imagine, let's just use your imagination. Some of us grew up in the hood, right? Imagine the hood in 10th century, 7th BC, around that time. Could you imagine parents starving or whatever, trying to push their children off on these nobles? Could you imagine a father whose child is just neglecting him and doesn't respect him because he can't take care of him and he has to go through this pederasty stuff? Okay? So I'm going to take you there. Okay, so this person is saying, I don't think it sparked homophobia. There are other reasons. one of the concepts, the human race will cease to exist the more gay people not reproducing there are, to the concept that choosing not to reproduce is going against nature. And three, that a man choosing to take on a submissive feminine bottom role is unmanly, to name just a few. Okay, so I understand what you're saying. I get it. It's modernized. But I need you to take this trip with me. Because all of what you're saying is sparked by one verse. And we're going to get to it. All right. So, like I said, the Bible, some of the scripts was written in 1 century BC. It was starting to be compiled. It wasn't fully assembled until 400 AD. Along with that timeline was the fall of the last ancient empire, which is the Roman Empire, which is where pederasty ended. Okay? Now, it's a particular word that I want to share with you, and I can't even pronounce it. So remember, 400 AD, we got a Bible, we got the books, we got the Old, we got the New Testament. It's in Hebrew, it's in Greek, because those are the two tongues of the day. Now, this word I can't pronounce. I'm not even going to butcher it. That is the original word in Hebrew that was in the Bible. Okay? And the meaning of this word meant not necessarily molester, but a man that sleeps with a boy. That was what was in your original Bible. A man that sleeps with a boy. Okay? What are y'all thoughts about that? Now, I know I have a few people that's ultra religious. And I'm going to take you down that timeline. And I please ask you to research this. And for my several LGBT people that are watching and you are religious, I want you to be redeemed, because that original Bible, the original thoughts, the original thinking didn't just pop out the sky and a person said, oh, we don't want people same sex having sex. Because you were here from the beginning of time. And what that Bible spoke upon was an ancient practice called pederasty. Pederasty was ruining, and I can imagine this because if you compare it to pedophilia today, and I don't think humans is that much different from then and now. Probably destroyed families, had boys that were maladjusted. They probably grew up to be different types of people. They probably were withdrawn. They probably committed suicide. They probably did all the things that we do now. And I just want to take a moment to say to the Bible people that believes that the Bible says that homophobia is a sin. It is not. Please go back, and I need you to do the research and the homework. Please. I need you to. Because you're destroying people's lives just from one mistranslation. So I'm going to go back to ask you again the question. Did pederasty spark the homophobic movement? Now remember, during that time they didn't have a concept of homophobia or being homosexual. Homosexual, that term didn't come into the late 1800s. If you pick up a German Bible that was published before 1550, there's another word in there. I think it's called Nakasaka or something like that. I don't want to butcher it. It means the same thing as the word that I showed you. A man that sleeps with a boy. The problem is through translation and through us not understanding history and through us not studying history, we forgot what was going on in the past to make it relatable to the time and translation, and we modernized it to the present. So, because that simple Bible verse was changed, and that happened in the 1800s, you have rampant homophobes that was created by a religion, by a book. And some of y'all stand on it. Forgive me, I am not trying to attack your religion. I'm asking, if you are in an organized religion, please do your research. And not only has that word been mistranslated, it's several other things that's been mistranslated. But I will not discuss that here today because I like to stay on my topic. Does anybody have any comments, any questions, anything? I'm going to read a few facts and then I'm going to bring on people that are waiting in the queue to come on to the live and give their opinions about what I'm saying. But I really stress and I urge everyone, anything that you choose to read and study and believe in, you need to do some background on it. All right. So I want to share a few fun facts and then I'm going to bring in Toya and Kima. Toya, please come back in. I'm about to bring you in. All right. So in Afghanistan, why do the U.S. soldiers like to go over there? Why do a lot of the rich go over there? They still practice a form of pederasty. It's sickening to us, but they still do hold on to that custom. I'm going to read you something else. I told you about the knocker, shander is a word in German meaning boy molester. It was in the original, from the original Hebrew translation. It was in the Bible in 1534. So if you get any copies that's before, I say the 1800s, you'll be good. You'll get the information. Now, in the 1800s, it says that's when the Bible started being converted to man shall not lie with man. You know that Leviticus, man shall not lie with man. It's an abomination. But the original translation should say, boy molesters would not inherit the king of heaven. Heaven. That's what it's supposed to say. Man should not lay with boys. Boy molesters will not inherit the king of heaven. So wouldn't that be really great for Roman Catholic rapists to take that passage in and wording out of there and put homophobia in there? I mean, I'm sorry, homosexuality in that word. Let's translate it that way and get the light off for us. Raphael said, for those Bible toters, you must prepare for what you're going to find out in your research, that Jesus also had a gay disciple, and that is true. And it's a couple gay people in your Bible. And some prostitutes. Now, if you hit me with Sodom and Gomorrah, that was not about that. Sodom and Gomorrah was mistreatment of people in general and the practice of pederasty. All right. So, in 1983, the American company Biblica pays for an updated German Bible that uses the word homosexual instead of boy molesters. This was later put into the English Bibles, which read, "Man shall not lie with man, for it is an abomination." So, back to the question that I asked. Do you believe that that pederasty sparked the homophobic movement? I'm going to bring Toya in. Let's see where she is. Hi, Toya. You are on. They can hear you, Toya. I can't hear you say anything. Speak, Toya. You up there? So the question is, you guys, from all the information that I just gave you, do you think that the reason why people are homophobic is because of the idea of pederasty? You're on mute, Toya. I can't hear you. We can't hear you. You got to probably go back out and come back in. All right. So either way, that was Toya. She'll come back. So everybody that's watching, what are y'all thoughts? I really want to hear from y'all. Y'all can even call in. You could come on this live like Toya did. All right, Toya, speak. You're on mute. Turn up. Turn your sign up. Turn it up. Yeah, I can't hear you. Everybody's watching me and no one's saying anything. Does anybody have any opinions, questions, concerns, anything they want to share with me? Toya, you might have to go out and come back. Is something wrong with your sound? Everybody's quiet. You can hear me. I couldn't hear you, Toya. You got to do something with your sound. You could come back in. All right. So that was my spill on pederasty. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the word pederasty. Pederasty. I want y'all to seriously research that, please. Okay? That word is the reason why so many people like me and my friends have to suffer in society because we have so many people that believe in this Bible so wholeheartedly that they can't see past it and see that religion in itself, and again, I'm not trying to attack it, divides us. So if the goal is to reach the kingdom of heaven, and it's a space where people believe all of this one thing and we're all going to be jolly, I don't want to be there because there can't be any real love there. I think the creator is just so simple. You can see it in nature. The creator created so many things. Imagine if the creator was narrow minded and decided, you know what, that my greatest creation is man and woman, and that's it. What about the birds? What about all the wonderful animals? And another type of person that you guys fail to realize exists is the intersex person. And if I was to just dive into that, that'll be a whole nother hour. But I will have a discussion about that. How you doing, Alicia? Alicia said, what is the topic? The topic for tonight, Alicia, I'm talking about pederasty. It's the root for pedophile. It's ancient. Hey, Smack, come on in. You
Can you hear
on?
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello? Did you call to say something, Smack?
I love the subject. Keep it going. Bye bye.
She funny. All right. So, all right. I'm talking about pederasty, Alicia. Do you know what pederasty is? I can go back through exactly what it is. The topic for tonight is actually did pederasty spark the homophobic movement? Alicia said no. Okay. Okay. So pederasty is an ancient form of institutionalized pedophilia, where you had to sleep with an influential man to get a craft. It was used for bonding. It was used to for you to get. Let me go back to my pages. It was used to educate about a profession, provide guidance into adulthood for young boys, and to foster loyalty and bonding. The reason why I brought up pederasty tonight, Alicia, is because I wanted people to understand, mostly Bible toters that jump on the back of LGBTQ plus people, that you are in the wrong and you need to do a little bit more research, because the original Bible does not state that homosexuality is wrong. The initial Bible had a word, and I don't want to butcher it. I wish I could say it. The original Greek and Hebrew Bible said this word, and it means boy molester. And it starts from a practice, which I told you, pederasty, that the ancients used, and which you see the Roman Catholic Church still doing today. Toya, I'm going to bring you in. I see you, but you in the dark. Feel free to call in, anyone. Anyone got anything to say? Oh, the rap. Yes, yes, definitely. Influential people believe that they can actually do it. Go ahead, Toya. Talk and let's see if we can hear you. Toya up there, but you're not saying that. Turn up your sound or something. No, you was talking before. I don't know what you did earlier, but I can't hear you. All right. So yes, Alicia, like the rap industry, street. That's one form of practice of pederastry that you're seeing visibly in front of you. and like the average poor person like me and you, we're watching this and we're not understanding why they don't see anything wrong with this human trafficking and taking young boys and all that stuff, but they feel entitled because that is something that they practice ever since the 10th century. Some of these families, a lot of these families can date themselves back, we can't. So anybody else want to call in, has anything to say, anything they'd like to share with me? Does anybody disagree with me? I'm here to say that pederasty is the reason why people are homophobic. I believe if it didn't exist, then that transition from pederasty to homosexual wouldn't have happened. And I believe that we would just be living merry and happy, just like I said when I took you back. We live without color, only nationality, and we didn't have a word for homosexuality until the 1800s. Pederasty is the reason why we have the issues that we have today and the reason why we have the issues back then. Hey, D Nasty. I believe this has been happening for over thousands of. Yes, D Nasty. It has. I just told you. Pederasty has been going on since the 10th century BC. Okay. Call let me see if this is you. Call back, Alicia. Thank you for calling the Peach Radio Show. Who am I speaking with?
Madeline?
Hey, Madeline.
Hey,
All right, you on.
I think that if there's a hated marginalized group, that society will pick any reason, whether it's religious or cultural, to make justification for the hate. So I don't know if you notice, no matter what group it is, any fear of how it's going to hurt the kids is used as an excuse. Whether it's, okay, homosexuality will hurt the kids, or CRT will hurt the kids in a racial context, or like it could be anything. Like science says something's not natural. I just feel like even if the pederasty thing didn't exist, there'd be a million other made up excuses as to why something's wrong.
Okay, but I get what you're saying, but we're talking about the initiation of homophobia. Because remember, we didn't have a concept or a word for homosexuality. You just were. You just were heterosexual and you just were whatever you were, whatever your sexuality was. Pederasty highlighted some things and people substituted with homosexual. And pederasty, which is pedophilia, like they compare us to that today. Pedophiles, essentially. They can't get that out of their head. You don't think pederasty is a reason?
I'm saying that it probably contributes, but I'm also saying that even if pederasty didn't exist, there'd still be homophobia. That's what I'm saying. It's not the sole cause. Like, even if it was never a thing, homophobia would still be around.
Do you think? Okay, so you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the whole not reproducing is a very big reason people use to say it's not of proper nature to not make children, and that if enough people come out as gay, that the population will dwindle to the point of nobody's having kids anymore. That's a very real belief.
Okay. Well, we could go into statistics with that. But I'm trying to figure out where would they even get the thought of homosexuality, period, to get to that thought that you're saying. What would
Like
spark that thought?
the idea of like same sex people having sexual relations, just that.
Yes. What would have sparked that thought? Yes. For them to decide to be homophobes.
I guess it's hard for me to see how it's related because there's a big difference between adults of the same sex having sex versus going after really young people.
Okay, so you're having trouble seeing the correlation.
Yeah, because to me they're completely different things,
Ex-
and a lesser talked about topic is like, well, what about when older women prey on younger guys, or when older guys prey on younger girls? It's like when it's homosexual pedophilia, it's a big deal, but when it's heterosexual pedophilia, people just kind of shrug their shoulders.
Right. Well, back in that time when pederasty existed, there was how we're looking at it in today's terms with age. There was no age limit of anything, so they just looked at it as same sex activity.
Yeah, I've been to countries where the age is quite low, as far as like consent and marriage. But yeah, some cultures don't
Yeah.
care.
So to a homophobe, all of it looks the same.
Hmm.
Pedophilia, pederasty, to them, again, I took you back. There was no age range, none of that stuff of consent that we got now. So to them, because of that practice, it just looks like two men sleeping together and
Yeah,
it's chaotic. So they just said, okay, that's homosexuality. As time went on, oh, that's nothing but people, two people sleeping together, two men. When really that wasn't the focus of that practice. And it wasn't the focus of that Bible passage. The focus of the Bible passage was man and boy. So
uh-huh.
that's where the correlation is. And where I'm trying to get people to see two different things. Me and you know that because we in the community.
Yeah.
But other people, it doesn't make sense to them. And I'm trying to
But
show them where they got this thinking from.
I'll also say you had pointed out that it's really important for people to study their religion. But I can say for Catholics, as someone who grew up Catholic, we're not encouraged to study the Bible at all for ourselves. That's the priest's job. We're not encouraged to read it ourselves. The priest who's well studied is supposed to tell us what it means. So as far as Catholics are concerned, we're not encouraged to do self-study at all.
No one in any religion is. That's why you have to take the mystery and put the history in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, you got to take the mystery out and add the history in, and then it'll give you a clearer picture, a clearer perspective of what's going on. Thank you for calling in, Madeline. I appreciate you. I think Alicia was trying to call in.
Yep, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye bye. All right, Alicia, call back in. Maybe I'll call you. D Nasty said the 1800s are only 200 years ago, too short. Well, the 8 D Nasty in the 1800s, what I was saying is that's when homosexuality, the word, was created in the late 1800s. In ancient times, when we had pederasty, there was no concept for homosexuality. You just were. You were a person having sex with a man. You was a person having sex with a woman. You was a person having sex with the opposite sex. The focus, the initial word and focus that was in the Bible was pederasty because pederasty was pedophilia. All right, Alicia, I'm calling you now.
So,
Hello.
how are you?
I am good.
So, what I was saying was, with okay, once you explained it to me, it made me think back. I can't remember who had showed me the article about Africa Bombata and him taking boys and stuff and from city to city and having sex with them and whatnot.
Mm, yeah.
I can't hear you.
I, s- I said, yeah. It's a, it's that's a form of pederasty. All of that, all the stuff that this weird kinky stuff that you seeing on the internet coming out with that Africa Bambata, all of those people that's in those elite spaces. I believe they're
Uh-huh.
practicing pederasty. I believe that to my core. I think that we're just not educated about that kind of stuff. That's because that's something that's not discussed in school.
Right.
So I think with this topic, hopefully I can open some eyes open.
You said it's something that's not taught in school.
Nope.
No, I don't think it should be.
What pederasty?
In a high school, yes.
I think if we taught pederasty in school, where it stems from, what it's about, that I think it will open a lot of the children's eyes about what's going on today in correlation to the past. There is nothing new under the sun. I can tell everybody that right now. If you, because I love history. If you study us from the past, the same things we're doing now, we were doing then. We just approve upon it. So this
Sure.
thing, yeah, with this pedophilia, changing it from pederasty to pedophilia, that's all things that the kids need to learn so they can be aware.
I just don't think that at certain ages, certain things need to be told to children. I
Okay.
think that's something that once they're older in a high school setting and more mature to understand and take a grasp of exactly what it is a better thing.
Okay. So let me ask you tonight's topic. Do you think pederasty sparked the homophobia in people?
Hmm.
Like, how do
Situations like that would I think would start.
you think it did? You say you think it would have?
I think it could start it, but I also agree with Madeline. Homophobia would still exist.
Okay. So what do you think if pederasty didn't exist to make people take a look at sexuality? What would have made them think homosexuality is bad and put it in the Bible?
Well, first of all, something that a lot of people tend to forget is the Bible was written by a man.
Mm-hmm.
So, therefore, however he felt, whatever he thought, influences the writing.
Right. But what
Because if
would
that was the case, we wouldn't have to have an older than a new. Then you wouldn't have to have an abridged. How do you abridge something that was already written? Something sacred that was already written. I don't understand that. But maybe that's just me. But
okay. I'm just trying to
what
figure out
is
what would spark that thought.
beginning, they were all flocking around, white men, whoever. And then it changed. So the ideals changed.
Okay, and what made it change?
Now after that, I'm not fully in my Bible. Don't you test me all you want, but I'll fail it every time. So can't really quite answer that.
Okay. Did you see the top of the show?
I did not. I did
Okay.
not, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna share just the top of the show, and then you. I love what you're saying, and I agree with you and Madeline. But to me, all of those are offshoots. At the top of the show, I took you back to ancient times, and during those times, we didn't have a concept of sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
People were just people that were in love.
Exactly.
But we had a concept of pederasty, which was an institutionalized system where influential men would take your children and say, we can make them become priests, we can make them become anything that made money besides you being a farmer or a poor person, and train them and give them guidance so they can become a soldier. To
Mm-hmm.
become any of that, you had to go through the process of pederasty. It was when the Bible was starting to be developed, that's when pederasty ended, because the Roman Empire fell with that because of Christianity, and then that was placed in the Bible versus homosexuality. That's when pederasty was banned, and that's when sexuality was given the put under a huge microscope. So because they didn't have a concept of sexuality, to them all of it looks the same. It's a man sleeping with a man. Mind you, during that time we existed. People was having same sex relationships and stuff, several people in history. But in order to eliminate the pederasty, they wanted to eliminate all of it because they couldn't differentiate, like today, pedophilia from LGBT people. And I
So
believe
again,
that sparked that thought. And I think everything else is offshoots of that.
a man, men, with their ideals, their
Hmm.
beliefs,
Yep.
and then that's how things ended. Because again, they were flapping around, having a good jolly time, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Upstanding walks in and like, yeah, no, we're not having this.
I think it was a ego thing. I think it would be pretty insulting as a man to raise a child, and then some other man come and take your child and have sex with them, basically rape them and turn them into this higher position that you didn't have. And then your child probably looking at you like, you really couldn't help me. And I had to do this to enrich the family. I think that probably was a very terrible process and probably develop animosity between men and the elite and their children in same sex
Think about it, how
relations.
many of them sold their children because they were so poor, and they had other smaller children to feed, and so they sold the oldest daughter.
Oh, that was slavery, and that's a whole
So
nother
I mean,
topic.
they sold them and knowing that they're going into their sexual dreams.
Yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't think people want to go down there with me.
But I mean, it all ties in together though, because like you said, it's fine. It's fine as long as it's behind closed doors. And you open the door, and it's like, oh hell no, we're not doing that. So you know, roles can no longer be and yeah, it's a long rabbit hole to go down.
It is. Uh,
It's a big rabbit hole to go down.
I got another caller, Alicia. Not to call you.
Yeah.
The hotline is going. Call me back, Alicia.
All
All
right.
right. All right. Kima,
Hello.
you on? Yep.
Okay. Looking at the thing, but sorry I wasn't able to get through. I've been having some serious technical difficulties. The hotline is gone. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. This is Kima, and I have been listening to the whole show. And my perspective on this whole pederasty, of course, it stemmed from. I feel that it stemmed from the early beginning, dealing with men of power and breaking other men. Even though it was a part of their culture, everybody deals with culture in different ways. And just because something is a part of a culture, some people feel like it's not right. And I think that's where the banding started coming together to get rid of it. Because rather someone was poor or whatever reason that they had to subject their child or their family member to this, it doesn't mean necessarily that they agreed with it. And I think it was only people who had the power, who had the means to band together to destroy the lower class people. Now, I understand that during that time, there was basically, they didn't look at each other as, a sexuality, a man and a woman and so forth like this. But eventually, through ages, people began to separate that and did begin to see it, and they saw that as a problem. Even though this as a culture continued. But now people realized that they could band together to prevent this disgrace from coming upon their men and their sons. And they realized that it was basically a power move. Now, being that was the case, it continued from years on as a way to break people and to manipulate people. So that's how come we get to our day and age, even from leading into slavery, leading into all these things that will belittle a person as a human being, as a way to have control over them. So when we come back to this day and age, now we have labeled it as being a pedophile.
Okay.
And from that point on, now you had the church come in, you have the law come in, and everything else to protect these men, protect these boys, because it was a cultural thing that people didn't agree with. And it's just like society now. I don't care what stems. I mean, if we can even take it back to women getting circumcised. That done changed through the culture. And it was a cultural thing for women to be circumcised, because that was, like I said, it was a culture thing, but it didn't give the women no right to it. And women had to fight against that, and women are still fighting against women being able to be circumcised because it's not right. A lot of these things from past history are coming forward and making us change laws, because just because it was stemmed as a cultural thing does not make it as being right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's Kima's opinion. Do y'all agree with it? So basically, in a nutshell, you think pederasty sparked a whole, besides what you're basically saying, besides homophobia, it sparked so many other things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean,
So,
because they emphasize on that, which
was clearly you breaking somebody's son in.
Yep, you making them a sexual slave. So it is a form of slavery, but we can't. Again, we don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We trying to stick to the topic. So, how do you feel about knowing that the Bible was mistranslated and it's not as solid as people think it is, and that they're mistreating people because of a simple mistranslation? Hello?
Hello?
Did you hear me?
No, I didn't.
I said, how do you feel now that you know about Pederasty and that it is the initial verse that was in the Bible? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you've been lied to? And how do you feel?
Well, my opinion in reference to the Bible, period, is that a lot of information has been mistranslated. And and people that don't know the translation of the Bible, you don't know if you're reading something that's fact or something that's fictional, even though we all know for a fact that the Bible is the number one read fictionist book in the world. But we're not going to go there either, because people don't want to accept that the stories of the Bible are quoted from different perspectives across people over the whole world. So that's a whole nother discussion in my book as well.
All of it is a whole nother discussion. And I appreciate everything everybody's saying, but I'm trying to get y'all to stay on topic. Did pederasty spark the homophobic movement?
Yes.
Okay.
It did spark a homophobic movement.
Okay. Let me call you back. The lines are lit.
All right.
All right, Karan, I'm about to call you back. Ooh, the lines are lit, y'all. Karan, I'm calling you.
Hello?
Hello, you on the Peach Radio Show?
What up? What up? What up?
Hey, I know you got something to say about this topic.
You know what? You know what? Let me. You know what? I just was called. You know what? I was getting ready to go ham. I was listening to a lot of people, and what their opinions was and everything. You know what I mean? And I'm not even going to go ham on your show, because you know how Philosopher gets. I get passionate about everything. I'm just going to say that I want to say that you're doing a great thing right here. I'm loving the show. I'm loving this topic right here. And you're teaching. I'm having a ball listening.
No, but you could go
I'm glad
ham and
you're my
say your
friend.
opinion. Say your opinion.
My, I got 30,000 opinions about so many things that were said on the show. That's why I said I'm not even going to rip through your show. But one thing I would like to say is I think people are forgetting that they're coming on and they have these opinions and everything, but I think they're forgetting that you're saying before Christ, before all of these things, and so therefore you would know nothing else. You would know nothing different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this delay is killing me.
Just keep talking.
You know what I'm saying? So therefore, they're coming on and they're saying they go, okay, well this is this and this and that. And you know what? And I'm not condoning pedophilia either, but all things must exist. And we keep saying things like, oh, you're raping or you're degrading people and all this other stuff. You're not even looking.
these people, because you know nothing different. At this time, when this was going on, when you're talking about the male on male and the men with the little boys and all that stuff, that shit, you're looking at that to be in their eyes, they're looking at that to be a part of that, to be honored to be that, to do that, as well as maybe being offended. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know nothing wrong that's wrong with that to say, oh, I'm disgusted by how that's going on. When you know nothing different, and this is just the general norm. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
this was the general norm for a lot of people. And yes, it was looked at as a thing of clout, as a stature, having money and things of that nature in different cultures and stuff. So, you know what I mean? So I think we're losing the sight of that, what you're giving, saying, okay, take it back to that and, you know what I mean, take it back to back then. We're looking at our opinions now on
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at the porn industry. Regular straight on straight woman, quote unquote, on porn is $1 million industry. But fucking pedophilia porn, right, with kids and shit is billions of dollars. You do the math. It's something that just is and was and is supposed to be. And I hate to say it because I don't like it, but it's supposed to be. Think about, let's strip away the ego and all of that, all the other stuff that you don't want to tell people, and just think to yourself, how sexual were you when you were a child? You were sexual. To catch a girl for a girl and all of the little grinding and stuff that you did. You know what I mean? All of that stuff. You were sexual as a child, so I don't even want. I'm not trying to rip apart your show, okay? Because I can get too deep, and you know that. But Phil Cipher, I just wanted to say thank you for being my friend. I'm loving the topic. I'm loving the show.
All righty. Thank you for calling. That was Phyllis Cipher. Now, Phyllis Cipher, I mean, he makes a great point, and I'm gonna say what that point is. Now, I do not condone pedophilia at all, but for the Bible thumpers, this is for you. Inside your Bible, you actually do have an age limit, and it's called puberty. And it states that a woman is a woman during puberty. And most women today go through puberty at 9 years old. I had my menstruation at 9. So that's something for you to think about while you're mulling over what I'm saying tonight. And again, that probably comes from ancient traditions and cultures of womanhood and manhood. Not to say that I agree with it, but just is. All right, so does anybody else want to call in? Anything they want to say? Let me see who else. Uh, this is an amazing topic. But if anything from this show, if you could take away anything, I would like for all of you, whatever you believe, spiritual, if you're a spiritual person, if you are a religious person, please, please, please do your research. Believe what you want, but take the mystery out of it. Be informed. Be able to have a logical conversation and be able to logically explain your thoughts to someone. Tonight is dedicated to, and I'm not going to say the person's name, and I did not post them because I normally post people as my donkey post of the week, and I didn't do that. So tonight is dedicated to two of my donkeys that I encountered the first part of the week, and I read in the group. Be careful when you are putting out these Bible scriptures in these LGBT groups. are you putting out these Bible scriptures in a stream of a LGBT show? You look very foolish if you don't have any historical reference to go along with it. As Kima said, your Bible is a number one seller in the fictional book section. But history is what it is. And it could give you some insight into what you believe and what you're thinking. I often say, make it make sense. You are causing a world of pain for people that don't even deserve the pain. And you're letting go the people that you might need to chastise and have conversion therapy with, and take away their human rights and jail them and fire them from jobs and all the other miscellaneous things that you do to LGBTQ plus people. Along with this topic of pederasty, we had discussed, I gave you a correlation of homosexuality and how it developed the word and how people develop these ideas. Am I the only one that's not realizing that also during this time that was big, that is not really frowned upon, and we don't go hard on like we do LGBTQ plus people, is incest? But that's a whole nother topic. It's so many other things that we could worry about. So for my donkeys, please stop. This is my defense for my people. Do some research. We've been here since 10th century BC. We've been here past AD. We're here during modern times, still loving and doing what we're doing, improving inside society, creating inventions, giving you arts, giving you, helping you with the civil rights movement, and all of these things. And all you do is try to find a way to hate us. So that's the end of my show. If you know a homophobe or someone that's confused or a Bible thumper that believe that, please share my show. Maybe they could benefit from the information and do a little bit of research. So my topic for next week, because I will be back on next Tuesday at 8 p.m. If you like this show, please put up some hearts. Let me know that you learned something. Show me something. My next topic, I think I'm going to talk about, and I said that I didn't want to get into spirituality and the things of that nature, but I want to talk about intersex and trans people, because I need y'all to understand what that is, and I need you to understand that intersex and trans people have been around since the beginning of time. It's just, you people, a lot, well, not you people, a lot of people, because you live in your bubble, you haven't experienced any time with intersex or trans people to try to figure out who they are, what they are about. And then just like with the Bible, you haven't done any research to find out that they've been around from the beginning of time also. And I will share this piece with you. And again, remember what I told you at the top of the show. Go all the way back to the beginning of the time before race, when we were just nationalities, before you thought about sexuality. Go back to that time. Do you realize that the people that you mistreat, the intersex and the trans people, we were your oracles? You came for us for consults and guidance. You thought you revered us. You called us your two spirited people, and you respected the duality. And speaking of duality, that says a lot about your creator. Because in order to create man and woman, you have to understand both parts. So we're going to have that discussion about intersex and trans people and what it looks like spiritually, our contributions to society, and no, we are not a mistake or an evolution problem. So if you're going to tune in next week at 8 p.m., I advise you to go ahead on and do your homework, read about intersex people, and I want you to read about trans people. Where can you look this up? You could take a look into Native American cultures. You could start looking back in classical Greece, Rome. Actually, you could go back to Mesopotamia. I recommend that you read or go onto YouTube and look up Credo Mutwa. Credo Mutwa is an African historian and shaman that held the histories of his ancestors from the beginning of their inception in their tribe. And he'll tell you and talk about that humanity, which you see it as right now, being man and woman, was once a dual being. And we'll talk about that. And then we'll touch in on Mexico where you see all those flying saucers. We'll talk about the Numa Elish a little bit and some Mesopotamian writings. Because I want you to understand how this society is set up. And I'm just going to leave you with a key piece of advice. If you see the media downplaying a specific minority, I suggest you research them. As a African American person, a black person, or whatever you want to call yourself, you see how the media depicts us. It's something to be said about that. You need to research the past of them of us. And if you're not black, of the people, the black culture, because it's something that's being hidden. You see how they dog out homosexuals? That's something you probably might need to be studied because it's something that you need to know and some information that's being hidden. Anything that the media or any kind of propaganda about anything, you need to research. But that's my show for tonight. If you would like to be on the Peach Radio Show, please feel free to inbox me. I'll put the show topic up probably the beginning of the week. I hope that you guys learned something tonight. I hope that I didn't offend anyone. Also, if you are interested in learning about the LGBTQ plus community, come out to the Me seminar. That's June 3rd. It is not like this show right here. This show goes into depth. At the Me seminar, there will be speakers from the LGBT community. They will talk to you about who they are, their pronouns, how to address them, some of the things that they face, what it means to be their identity and orientation, and then you get to ask tasteful questions. All questions will be screened. Go to imecorp.org for the details. Get your tickets. Please get in the know about LGBTQ. I am a founder of a nonprofit organization, and I cannot tell you how many for-profit organizations contact us because they want to improve LGBTQ relations. So if you can get this training now or sort out some of the thoughts and feelings that you may have about us, I say, please come to the seminar. Thank you, Agnes. Agnes says very informative, and thank you. You're welcome. The Me Seminar. If you are new to my show, 8 p.m. every Tuesday. You can also follow me on Facebook. It's Pierce Peach McCoy, or you could go to my Peach ENT page or the Peach Radio Show, or you can go subscribe at Peach ENT, or you could go to imecorp.org. All of these, everything I do pertains to learning because I care about my community and I also care about having allies. And it was something that was said tonight that I like to address before I go that Madeline said. If you are a person that's worried about reproduction, LGBTQ people is only 5% of the population in the United States. The other 95% is heterosexual. So even if all of us was trying to turn you, we will only get 5%. And that'll leave 90% of y'all to procreate. If that's your logic. And another thing, I want you to understand that LGBTQ plus people also procreate. I am an identity within my community, and I have 3 beautiful children. Okay? Yep, Courtney, yes, we only 5% in the U.S. And that's people that's, out. So again, let me get off here because I could go on and on talking about this stuff. But next week we're going to talk about the trans community, and we're going to talk about the intersex community. Okay, the trans community is more straightforward. The intersex community, I'm just going to leave it here. If you're a woman that had problem in child rearing, getting pregnant, or having a baby, you might be intersex. Being intersex does not have anything to do with the quote unquote, and I hate this derogatory term, you being a hermaphrodite. You could be intersex and have perfectly formed female organs top to bottom, but internally function and have hormones like a male. That is a perfect being that's functioning in duality. How do I know? Not to toot my horn, but I am a perfect being functioning in duality. Fully female on the outside. And the inside, I have hormones like a male. So let's have this discussion. Y'all have a good night. I love y'all. Join me next Tuesday at 8 p.m. if you are interested in this topic. Please do your homework. Share this live, tell your friends. And if you are an artist and you got music you want me to play, hit me up and I'll be willing. Again, inbox me if you want to come on the show. Saturday, I am on here with my other half doing a show at 1 o'clock special time because we have something that we need to go to. It's called Relationships Aren't Easy, where we open up the door to our relationship and we give relationship advice and we normalize the LGBTQ love so you can understand it. Okay? Courtney says, thank you. Yes, so much to learn and love. All right. Y'all have a good night. I already been on here for almost 2 hours. I love y'all. I hope y'all got something from this. See y'all Saturday, or I see you next Tuesday.
You heard what I said?